Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to show you what was in my backpack for my 2018 CDT through hike. I'm going to break it down, show you everything I brought, some of the things I liked, didn't like, changes I'm going to make for future hikes, and just a couple odds and ends about the way I preferred to carry things on trail, on the backpack, my setup and whatnot. So first things first, this is the clothing that I wore on trail every day, so it's not in my backpack. These are the Brooks Cascadia 13s. I started the trail with the Cascadia 12s. I went through two pairs. I made it to Breckenridge, Colorado on the first two pairs, and they came out with the 13s. So I went into REI and this is what they had. I ended up liking these shoes a lot more than the 12s. So I hiked the rest of the trail in two more pairs, and I had 900 miles on these shoes when I reached the border. I wore them another year in the gym, and then I hiked another 120 miles in Glacier National Park just a few weeks ago in them, and they're still holding up. So they're great shoes. Highly recommend them, although now they got the 14s out. I stocked up on the 13s before they disappeared forever completely. Gaiters are Dirty Girl Gaiters. Socks are Darn Tough socks. I carry two pairs of these and just alternate basically every day, or even half the day. I might take them off at lunch, wash them in a stream, and then put my clean pair on and just alternate that way. I only got one blister on trail on day one, so my method for socks worked for me. So this is the hat I wore. It's the Outdoor Research sun hat. I didn't feel like I needed a wide brim hat in the desert or anything. This worked pretty well for me. I got a ton of sun on my face, but I handle sun pretty well, so it didn't really bother me. What I liked about the hat is you could take this off, go into town, and you don't look completely ridiculous with this thing on. So I like the hat. I'll definitely bring it again next through hike. Boxers I wore were Patagonia daily wear Capilene boxers. These are I bought like literally every pair, but I think I bought 6 or 7 different pairs of boxers before the CDT. I had been trying for many years to find a good pair of boxers. These are the ones that ride up the least for me, give me the least amount of wedgie. So these worked for me. A lot of people wear the Ex Officios, seem to work well for them. My daily wear shirt is this Patagonia Capilene, I think it's just called daily wear shirt. And yeah, this thing was pretty nice. Really thin, really lightweight, breathes well, dries quick. I got a hole in the back of it. You can kind of see some rubbing right here. This is the back side where the backpack, you know, always sits back there. And by mid-Wyoming, it had worn a hole the size of my head, so I called Patagonia. They sent me a brand new one on trail, so they held up to their warranty, which was nice. The shorts, pants I wore are Cool Renegade pants, and normally I hiked in shorts, so I would keep my, the shorts, the zip-off part in the backpack in case it gets cold later in the evening. They're easily accessible. These are the sunglasses I wore on trail. It's a Numa brand. I think it was like Ballistic Series or something. You can, be really rough with them and they don't break. So, all right, so let's talk about the pack. This is an Osprey Exos 58. I've been using these Ospreys for years and decided to use it on the CDT because it, treated me well all those years previously. I will say over time on the CDT, it kind of developed quite a bit of issues for me. One being the hip belt. This is a medium. I started with a large, and the hip belt, I've got a 32-inch waist. Couldn't get any tighter. I needed it to be, 30-inch. I lost a couple inches on the waist, right? So ended up buying this medium, and it has the exact same size hip belt. The hip belt is fixed. It's built into the backpack. So your torso size and hip size, it's just medium. So there were some issues there. I ended up having to use some, padding in the back and everything to kind of fill out the waist size a little bit to work with the, the large hip belt. That, and then kind of on the shoulder here, the strap would just kind of rub. I wouldn't say rub, but it just really started bothering my collarbone. And that was something I dealt with for, I gotta say, 75% of the trail. So I think in the future I'll be looking for a different pack, but this is what I brought. And on the outside here, I've got my trekking poles. I stopped using these in mid-Colorado, but they support my tent, so I had to bring them. and they are black diamond alpine carbon cork poles, and I modified them to use the handle from the HammockGear LT4 trekking poles, which I love, these cork handles. I've got a video on that. If you look at my videos, you can find it. So anyways, these poles I like them. They're sturdy. I like these snap locks a lot more than the twist kind. Good poles, liked them. Got some bear spray here. Only carried this north of the Wind River Range, and I carried it the rest of the way. So these are the water bottles I used on trail. They're Gatorade bottles. I also use smart water bottles. My capacity was about 5 liters in New Mexico, probably about 3 in Colorado, 2 after in the Wind River Range and after for quite a while, and then right along the Idaho-Montana border, I went up to 3 again. It gets pretty dry up there, so I recommend going back up to at least 3 once you enter Idaho. But yeah, these Gatorade bottles, these are really, really sturdy, one to last the whole trail. Same thing with the smart water bottles, they're pretty sturdy. These are light load towels. They actually come twice as big as this, and I cut them in half so I get 2. And I keep one in my side pocket on my shorts. It's a snot rag basically, and then the other one I keep right here in this pocket, and at the end of the day this is what I'll wash my face with, wash my arms and legs and things like that, and try and clean up with. On the outside here we have my 2 pant legs for my shorts. This is a sit pad. This is actually, I did not start the trail with this. This I found in a hiker box in Ghost Ranch. This is literally the only thing I took from a hiker box on the CDT. So this is actually really nice, really useful. I didn't think to carry one for the trail, but I'm glad I found it. These are the sandals I brought. I actually started with a pair of Walmart sandals. They were $5 cheapo sandals. I made it to mid-Colorado, and then I was in Grand Lake when they didn't have a Walmart or anything like that. They had just some expensive gear store in town. So I went in and got these Tiva sandals, and they last the rest of the trail. They're a bit sturdier, maybe a bit heavier. All right, what else we got here? Soap and hand sanitizer. I keep easy access to this, so when you're washing your hands, it's easily accessible. And in the top pocket, we have other easily accessible stuff like toilet paper. And here's my trowel that I used. Look at this little guy. This thing is so light, and I can't believe this actually did the job, the whole CDT. It's Q-Wiz as the name. The guy who makes it. It's titanium pack. And on the inside, there's a pocket here. I like to keep extra bags, like Ziploc bags and things. You just need these things. I mean, you go through bags for numerous reasons. So I'll carry a couple different sizes. Here's a gallon bag. There's a sandwich bag, quart bag, a couple more sandwich bags. One garbage bag. This is good if you need to keep your sleeping bag protected from getting wet for any reason. And I like to keep one grocery bag, and I like to keep one that's a little bit bigger, so I put my shoes in here if they're wet and it's maybe going to freeze that night. I'll put my shoes in this bag and put them in my sleeping bag and keep them warm so they don't freeze. Kind of don't want to use the same bag I'm going to use my sleeping bag for, so got to have one dedicated one. All right, let's reach into the old sack here and see what we got. So this is an OP sack. This is what I keep my food in. It's an odor-proof bag. A lot of people don't really, believe in these, I guess. I don't know why. My thought is prevent animals from being interested in you and your food and your camp by using one of these. You can hang your food, but animals aren't. They're still going to come and be interested in your food and your camp. So this kind of prevents that. Sure, it doesn't prevent an animal from getting into it, but at the same time, they're not going to come around your camp if they can't smell your food. I've been using these for 4,500 miles, and I've never had a single animal interested in my food ever. So I'm going to keep using these. This is the GPS I carried on trail. Almost nobody carries an actual GPS. They just use their phone. but this is a Garmin Oregon 450, and I carried this because basically I wanted to record a track of the whole CDT, and I just like having a dedicated GPS. I also had the whole CDT on this, so it was pretty easy to navigate on when Guthook app, the app everybody uses to navigate, is called Guthook. The Guthook app only really shows you maybe a mile and a half east or west of the trail, and with this I loaded maps 200 miles in every direction from the trail from the CDT. So no matter how far off trail you were, I at least had a functional map. This is my GoPro and gimbal. This is what I filmed most of the hike with, and I kept this little neoprene lens bag over it to protect it from the rain and keep it safe while it's in my backpack. So this is what it looks like. This is a mini tripod, and it flexes left and right and everything. You turn the gimbal on, stabilizes the GoPro, and I could set this down while I walk by it. I could pick it up, do panning shots. This is the camera I brought on trail. It's a Sony X7. I've got it in this leather case, which protects it pretty well while I'm moving, and it's nice when you throw it in your pack. You don't really have to worry about damaging it too much. I carry a wide-angle lens for most of my shots, 10 to 18 millimeter. I keep these dry sacks in my backpack that help me organize my smaller items. I'm going to break down what's in each one of these bags once I finish everything else in here, but for now, this is my toiletries bag. This is my odds and ends bag where I keep my first aid kit and duct tape, extra batteries. This is my larger camera and electronics bag. I've got a backup battery pack in here, extra lens for my camera. And this is my other camera bag, and I've got extra SD cards, all my charging cables, that kind of thing. I usually keep my fleece in my backpack because I'll use it in the morning or I want to use it later, so I kind of keep it fairly handy. Plus, I can't quite fit all of my clothes in this other dry bag. And this is what I keep all of my non-daily wear clothes in. I'll get to this one in a little bit. These are my micro spikes, which really I only carried in the Wind River Range in Wyoming and the San Juans in Colorado. Didn't really use them in Colorado much, but for my off-trail segment in the winds, we were on these all day. So good to have your micro spikes. This is my water filtration system. Pretty much everybody these days uses a Sawyer filter. And I use the Sawyer filter myself in addition to a Platypus. I kind of combined it with the Platypus gravity system. So basically, I would take the Sawyer, screw it in line with instead of the Platypus filter, I use the Sawyer filter. It's basically the exact same as the Platypus gravity system, except that I use the Sawyer filter. I did like the fact that I could hang this up in a tree and have this filtering water while I'm eating lunch and doing other things. But it was really, really, really slow. And for that reason, I don't think I would use it on my next through hike. I probably will continue using the Sawyer filter, but I'll just do the squeeze system that everybody else does. I thought it was worth a shot. It was kind of cool when it worked, but there was a lot of times when, breaks got really, really long just because I'm waiting on the water to filter. Okay, next is a backpack rain cover, pretty self-explanatory. I also used a compactor bag, a white trash compactor bag inside. Most people use either one. I was a little bit paranoid with my electronics. This is my sleeping pad. It's a Thermarest NeoAir. I actually first started the trail with a foam sleeping pad because I was kind of worried about these getting popped in New Mexico with all the thorns and whatnot. So around Ghost Ranch, I had this sent to me, and this lasted me to mid-Wyoming before it got a big bubble in the back. Thermarest calls it delamination. I kind of called it a tumor. Kind of looks like a tumor to me. Anyways, they replaced mine for free. I just sent them a picture of the delamination and everything. They sent me a new one. But I did get some really crappy nights of sleep with that delamination thing. The bubble was kind of like right here, you know, so it was just like the worst place to have that because it just kind of kinked your neck when you're sleeping. This is the tent I used, the Tarptent notch. And this is my Tyvek ground sheet. These are the stakes I used. They are MSR groundhog stakes. I got 2 big ones and 3 small ones because one's an extra. But my setup here uses 4 stakes, which I like about the tent. A lot of tents I've seen out here on trail, like a lot of the really lighter ones, their weight's really light, but you have to have like 12 stakes. So you start adding that stuff up. Plus you got to find, you know, 12 different spots in the ground that don't have rocks or roots in your way or whatever. One of my strategies is with the tent is to keep your number of stakes at a minimum, and that works for me. These are the 2 big MSR groundhog stakes and 2 small ones, and I put the big ones on the end and the small ones on the side. These Tyvek ground sheets are great. You know, a lot of hikers use them for different things. You know, you can sit on them, you can lay your gear out on them, and obviously put it under your tent. A lot of people will write on them with magic marker like hiker to town, or, you know, I'm not a murderer or something like that. And, you know, people try and get hitches by holding up their Tyvek. The Tarptent notch, though, I like the tent. It's a good tent. I think it's right around 2 pounds with all of this stuff. So I was using a Tarptent Moment for several years before I switched to the notch, which was right before the CDT. And the reason I did was because it shaved off a whole pound. The Tarptent Moment is a, you know, it uses a pole that comes with the tent, and the Tarptent notch here uses trekking poles to support it. So a lot of the weight savings comes from the trekking poles, but I was going to bring them anyway, so it's still a realized weight savings of about a pound, maybe a little bit more from my last setup. But it's got a full bathtub floor on it. It's got 2 vestibules on the side, which I really like. You can get in or out of each side. That way you're not just like trapped into your tent with... I really don't have any real complaints I can say about the Tarptent notch. I really can't, other than, you know, sure, there's lighter tents out there, but this tent held up really well for me on the CDT. I have no holes in the bug netting. I have no holes in the flooring. I didn't have any zipper issues. Nothing broke on the tent. This tent, really like it, and for anyone who has a similar mindset about hiking, I would recommend it to you as well. And my sleeping bag is a HammockGear Burrow 40, which I started the trail with, 40 degrees. And once I got to Colorado, I swapped out the 40-degree bag with the 20-degree bag. And this one's a HammockGear Burrow 20. Burrow 40, Burrow 20. So this is the HammockGear 20, and I started using Quilt a couple of years ago, and I'll probably never go back to a sleeping bag at this point. I really like the versatility that the Quilt will offer, because you can snap it up to, it really doesn't go, it's not a full sleeping bag that goes all the way up to your head and over your neck. The bottom is open, and it zips up, well, it actually has snaps, and it snaps up to maybe your knee or so, and then from there, the bottom can be open. If you sleep hot like me, your feet can stick out or at least get a little extra airflow, or if it's cold, you can close it. And for me, there's nothing worse than a hot night just feeling trapped in just this sleeping bag that goes all the way up to your head, you know. And with this, you don't have that problem. You can adjust it, and you're a really cold sleeper all the time. It's always cold weather. You know, maybe this isn't for you, but on the CDT, you never know what you're going to get, you know, hot, cold, you really have it all. So the versatility of this is really great on trail, and I think Quilt is probably the way to go for a lot of hikers. So the 20-degree bag I found to be warm enough for every single night for me on the CDT, I would say. Coldest temperatures I slept in was probably low teens, and, you know, with my base layer on, I was fine. So that's it for the backpack. All right, now that I've got the table cleared off, I'm going to break down what's in each one of these bags. This is all the little stuff that would really get lost in the backpack if I didn't have a better way to organize it and keep it together. Okay, so first, this is my clothes bag. So this is a Patagonia windbreaker. Basically, didn't wear it at all in New Mexico, wore it every day in Colorado, and wore it really quite a bit throughout the trail after that. It's really great to keep you just a little extra warm, not too warm. You don't really sweat in it like you would a fleece. Really, really like this thing. It weighs like 3 ounces. Extra pair of Darn Tough socks. If you get holes in them, you can send them into Darn Tough. You actually, as a thru hiker, a CDT thru hiker, you can email them with pictures of the holes in the socks, and they'll replace them for you and send you a brand new pair on trail. So pretty much everybody should be carrying the Darn Tough socks. I thought they were a really good pair of socks. I probably went through, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 pairs on trail, something like that. This is my shirt that I really didn't wear that much because I wore my Patagonia long sleeve shirt most of the time, but just a cheapo Walmart shirt. It's like a, you know, polyester nylon kind of thing. This is also a shirt I might wear in town just to have an extra shirt because that one was generally clean. This is a buff. I really didn't wear this too much until the end of the trail when it started getting colder, but I have it. So next we've got the MSR pack towel, and this is good to have so you can dry yourself off with when you get to a campground, take a shower there. You know, they don't give you towels, so you know you can use your clothes, I guess, to dry off, but that, or at the end of the day, if you bathe yourself in a stream or something, good to have. Next up is the rain jacket, and this is Outdoor Research Realm, and it's a discontinued item, I believe. I think it was meant for cyclists, but I didn't really care for this jacket. My main gripe with it is that when the water runs down the hood, it would always find its way down this neck piece and, you know, inside under the zipper here. So your whole front side would get wet anytime it rained, even moderately, really. So didn't care for this jacket. I would not recommend it if you can even find it. And these are my rain pants, Outdoor Research Helium. Did not have these with me in New Mexico. I had them sent to me at the border of Colorado. I reached Chama. They did a pretty good job at keeping me dry on the CDT, although I gotta say it was a pretty dry year to begin with, and really got very few days of like heavy rain or like constant all-day rain, so I didn't really wear these that much to keep me dry. When I did, they did a good job. There was no wetting through or anything like that. Mostly, if I wore these, it was either for extra warmth or just for like because it was threatening to rain, and it didn't actually rain. But the one thing I do like about them is zip up bottom here, so that you can zip this up and slide the pants on over your shoes without having to take them off, which is a really handy feature when you have like gaiters and stuff and all your stuff's already soaking wet. You don't really want to take it off. So they're good pants. They weigh 6 ounces. So I wouldn't carry them if you don't think you're going to need them, but on my next thru hike, I wouldn't hesitate to take them anywhere I think I'm going to get a decent amount of rain. Next we have Patagonia base layers. These are the old style Patagonia Capilene top and bottom here. Just the bottoms and the top. I've had these for 7 years before I hiked the CDT, and then I hiked 165 days with these, and they're still in pretty good shape despite one hole in the arm. This is my hat. This is a Mountain Hardwear Microdome. It's a fleece hat. It's my warm hat. It's really, really light. I like the hat. Next we have gloves. These are the Outdoor Research Versaliner gloves. And the deal with these is it's got this inner layer that you can put on independently of the outer layer, or you can just wear the outer layer. These keep you pretty warm, and then this, I mean not warm, but you know, warm enough for the CDT, and then this goes over that layer for a waterproofing layer. And I'll tell you, this is a much better solution than those mitts that you see people using. I mean, those mitts, you can't grip anything. They have no dexterity. These things, you can do pretty much everything you can do. You can do most things that your hand can do with these gloves. So I really like these gloves, and I would recommend them to anyone looking for a good glove system. And finally, we have sleeping socks and underwear. These are what I would wear in my tent when I'm sleeping at night. But next time I'm going to bring a second pair of the Patagonia Capilene Daily Wear boxers that I was using, just to have and be able to swap them out. So that's it for the clothes. I'm going to set this aside. So the next bag is just all my odds and ends stuff, such as my watch, which is actually worn, mosquito head net, which really only took for certain sections of the trail. Came in handy in Colorado in some segments. This is my multi-tool. It's a Gerber dime. It's really small. It's pretty much the lightest, smallest multi-tool I could find. It had pliers and just a couple of screwdrivers for doing like gear repairs and stuff as needed. This is the knife I brung. It's a Buck Nano, and I think it weighs something like 0.4 or 0.6 ounces. I barely ever used it, maybe for like cutting cheese or something. You need it occasionally, but you don't need a big Rambo knife, that's for sure. So the headlamp I brung, it's pretty old. Most hikers are using something rechargeable. This has 3 AA batteries. The lithium ones, I've replaced these, I think, twice on trail. So I really only went through 2 sets of batteries, the whole CDT with this headlamp. And the next bag is my extra batteries. These are AA and AAA lithium batteries. AA's are for my GPS, AAA's are for this headlamp. And I put my old batteries in another Ziploc bag with a little thing here that says old, so I know when I put my old batteries in this bag, I don't get them confused with my new batteries and try and put them in my GPS or something. That's those. Carry a lighter. Everybody should have one of those. This is my wallet. It's ID, credit card, and some cash. So everybody should have one of those as well. Now this is my first aid kit. Got a pair of latex gloves. Got a ton of Band-Aids. Probably overkill. And when I say probably, I mean definitely, because I've got like 50 Band-Aids here, so I've got enough to treat like a whole army platoon. So we've got those. We have bigger Band-Aids. I mean, these just all different kinds of Band-Aids here. Just next time I'll slim that down a little bit. Yeah, more Band-Aids. Some sterile gauze dressing pads. Another Band-Aid. A couple butterfly wound enclosure things. These are good to have, if you get a big cut. A lot of odds and ends things like, iodine wipe, biofreeze pain relieving gel. I mean, really, I kind of went overkill with the first aid kit. I really didn't use much in here except for the Band-Aids and like Neosporin cream. BZK towelette. Condom. I guess that belongs in first aid. Sterile gauze dressing pads. KT tape. I didn't really use these. I had carried more of them and ended up sending a bunch home. I did let another hiker use one time for his injury, but I never had to use them. So more iodine wipes and more Band-Aids. Moleskin. This is good if you have a blister. You can cut a piece of this off, put it on the back of your heel or something. I didn't really get any blisters, so I didn't use it, which is great. If you do get blisters, you can wrap your toes in this roll of gauze. Q-tip. This is wound seal. This stuff is like a powder. If you got like a really deep wound, you can, it clots the blood. It weighs next to nothing. This is a little mini scalpel. If you ever need to do any self-surgery, this is probably what you'd want to use. So that's the first aid kit. Next time I'm going to trim this down a little bit, probably bring less Band-Aids. And next is basically like the little tools, odds and ends, just a bunch of random stuff. This is a compass. Never used it once on the CDT. Here's some guy line, little extra string, a few carabiners, a small roll of duct tape. These are just some twist ties. Black Sharpie marker. This is for writing on signs, maybe to hitch into town, or anything else, like if you want to say like Mount Elbert or something and make your own little sign, you can do that. Got some Type A patches here. These are for patching up sleeping pads. A couple little small bags here. This is what I put my like ibuprofen and things in my little like pills bag, which I have with my toiletries. This is a small little towel. You can add water to this and it becomes like a little towel. Mini sewing kit and a safety pin. One thing of tenacious tape. I carry more in my bounce box. Really, I've got a lot more than this in my bounce box for repairs. I've steel nylon patches and stuff I don't have here. It's in my bounce box. Little alcohol wipe if you ever have to place one of these patches on, and some super glue is always really handy. I find if you get the bigger tubes, really it's a one-time use thing only anyway, and then the rest of the thing, I mean, you know how it goes. The cap gets frozen on and everything. So I like these Loctite minis just because you can get like 3 or 4 or 5 of them. They weigh next to nothing, and that's about all you're going to use anyway. So that is it for that bag. All right, next is the toiletries bag. Okay, we have Gold Bond moisturizer, sunscreen. I pretty much stopped using that past Colorado. I got pretty dark and just had a nice little tan going. Sun didn't really bother me too much. I bring wet ones. Usually in the mountains you can kind of get away with not using these because water's so abundant, but in the desert when you don't have any way to like wash your feet or face or anything at the end of the night, these are really great to have for that. If you have bad eyes like me, spare pair of glasses and a glasses case. I hike in contacts, so that's kind of what I wear as a backup, I guess, for if I go to bed. And this is really the toiletries bag here, main bag. Earplugs. These are good for sleeping in hostels and things. Anytime you're around other humans, basically, it kind of helps you actually get some sleep. I don't like to wear them while I'm camping, though. I want to hear, important sounds like, animals or, branches falling or things in the night. Toothbrush. This is what I carry my contact lens solution in. It's like a Visine type container, and you can just take the little nipple off, pour your contact solution in here. For this size, they make 2 different sizes. This is the larger size, and for me, you can get 8 days or more of using your contact solution at the end of the night with just one of those. One mini dental pick here. One thing of toothpaste, chapstick, contact lens case. And finally, we have the pill bag. Oh, and a spare set of contact lenses as well. Put it with the pills, I guess. Oh, and I guess I got a spare pair of earplugs. So I got one thing of ibuprofen. These are like anti-diarrhea pills. Fortunately, didn't have to use those. These are headache relief pills. I think it's like extra strength Excedrin. These are antihistamine, nasal decongestant pills. And these ones were sleep aid pills. And I carried a tiny little piece of paper here that says what they are. If anyone else, for whatever reason, had to go through my pills and grab me something, this is something that anybody can tell what's what. Okay, next up is the first of 2 basically camera and electronic bags. They're the blue one and the orange one here. I kind of just split some of the items between the 2 and just sort of know what's in each one. And the way I know which of these bags is which between these when I grab them out of my pack, if I just want to grab the camera gear and don't have to root through 2 different orange bags, I know the one that I put this little tiny piece of yellow cord right along the buckle here. That way I can know that these are the camera ones. So inside I have an extra lens for my camera. This is a zoom lens. It's a 55 to 210 millimeter lens, and I didn't really use it all that much. I carried it most of the trail. I had high hopes of getting wildlife shots, especially like up in Glacier, grizzly and stuff like that. I only used it a handful of times. I ended up sending it home sometime in Wyoming, I believe. This is my portable battery charger that I used. It's an Anker 20,000 milliamp battery, and this is what I use to recharge all of my camera gear. My camera, my GoPro, the gimbal, and my phone. So this is a Sony Xperia X Compact, and I bought this phone before the CDT because basically it was like the smallest, most compact phone that ran Android that I could find. So did all the smartphone stuff that phones do, so I'm happy with it. This is an extra filter for my camera lens. Kind of cool, this little neoprene pouch, and there's a space on the other side so you can carry two. It was pretty much the smallest, lightest thing I could find on eBay and Amazon for carrying extra filters. So that's it for this bag. Generally I carry some of the stuff that's in this one right now goes in this one. Yeah, all these chargers and cables and everything generally goes in here. So just kind of show you real quick what these are. This is the fast charger for the Anker battery. This is for my Sony X7 battery. This is for my GoPro. Here's another battery. This is for the GoPro gimbal. And this is for just, a dual port charger for charging these things in a hotel or wherever I choose to draw my power from. These are the various cords. Basically, there's a two of these have a micro USB like this style. One's got the old boy, I forget what you call this one. It's a larger one that the GoPro uses, and then my phone uses a USB-C. And sometimes I have a problem with the cable not staying in the port. So this rubber band built in, you can wrap it around the phone and it draws the cord into the port and it stays in place. Yeah, that one goes in here. So in this bag I've got my extra GoPro batteries. At certain times I was carrying an extra battery for my Sony X7 and maybe my gimbal batteries. But right now I'm just running the GoPro batteries only and running with one set of batteries on those other two items and just recharging it as needed with this and really watching that I don't run out. This is a bag that I put my used GoPro batteries in so that when I put them back in this bag, once again I know that I'm not picking up a bad battery and putting it into my GoPro when I need a new one. In this bag I have all of my extra SD cards, micro SD cards for my camera and my GoPro. And in this bag, there's just like little odds and ends extra camera stuff. I've got two extra lens caps in case I lose one for each of my lenses. This is a little extra port that covers like the SD card and everything on the GoPro in case I lose that. This cap goes on the sensor side of my lens on my camera, so if I lose that I've got an extra. And this is a lens protector for my GoPro, so I have an extra one of these, and a microfiber cloth to clean my lenses. Okay guys, this is everything I brought in the CDT except for the camera I'm filming with, and yeah, that's it. So you're probably wondering, what did I cook with? Well, I didn't cook the whole time. I didn't bring a stove, I didn't bring any silverware, no pots, no pans, no fuel, none of that. Everything I did was cookless. I didn't do any cold soak, anything. Some people say, oh, how do you eat without a hot meal? And I mean, I just don't like cooking and cleaning out there in backcountry. So for me, just not having to do dishes and worrying about bringing extra water for your food, I don't really care if I have hot noodles or, a tortilla with meat and cheese in it. Actually, I would prefer that over hot noodles. So to me, it wasn't really a drawback or anything. It worked really well for me, and you save a lot of weight and space in your backpack by not having to bring those things. On the other hand, your food might be slightly heavier. I did meet a couple other people on the CDT that went cookless. Not that many. Really, it's not that normal. So it's something to consider, I guess, if you feel like you could tolerate such a diet. So there it is, no stove. And so all this stuff here, my base weight is around 21 pounds when I left home. Towards the end of the trail, it's probably around 20. I don't really think I shaved all that much off. Keep in mind, 5 pounds of all of this stuff was my camera gear and electronics. So probably would be a little bit more respectable, but even still, I'm on the heavier side for a lot of other hikers out there. For me, that's about as low as I'm probably going to get. I could maybe shave off, you know, maybe a pound or something from what I have. I mean, there's certain items I may or may not take again here, but I'm not going to be one to get to 10 pounds or so. It's just I'm pretty close to the balance, I think, between my comfort and the weight that I'm willing to carry. Don't think that 15 pounds is heavy, even 20 pounds. You can do it with that weight. So all in all, I'd say the gear that I chose worked pretty well for me on the CDT. I don't have a whole lot of complaints other than my pack, which is a pretty big one, you know, really. So I will be looking to replace that. I do need a new rain jacket, and I'm going to probably go to the Platypus bags for a squeeze bag and just use the Sawyer filter, not in a gravity setup. Other than that, pretty much all this stuff I'll be using again on my next through hike. So, well, that pretty much wraps it up. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments area below the video. And if you haven't already, look in the video description for my lighter pack link, and that has weights and pictures and even links to buy all of the stuff that's sitting here on the table, so that way you don't have to kind of guess what I had, links to the exact products. So hopefully you found the video useful, and I assume you're watching because you're going to be on a through hike of your own. And if you are, best of luck to you. Enjoy your journey, because it's going to be over before you know it. You'll be making maybe boring gear videos like this of your own. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care.